The Florida State Seminoles have added a recruit to their class of 2026, flipping him from Ole Miss.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Seminoles. I am your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Football season's right around the corner, and with FanDuel's app, you can get planning for your futures bets right now. Florida State adds another member to their class of 2026. This time it is Izayia Williams, linebacker / pass rusher, and even if you wanted, you could consider him a possible strong safety. That's what Bill Belichick wanted him at, recruiting him to North Carolina. He thought he was going to be a safety, but here are the measurables and the overall rankings for Izayia Williams. He's 6'1.5", 215 pounds, very athletic young man. Rivals has him as the number 27 player in the country, 24/7, 170th, and ESPN number 39. This, again, is a very multiple athlete. I've seen Izayia play numerous times. I know him, great kid, and he's from Tavares, Florida, just outside Orlando. Several of his family members like Florida State quite a bit. That was a big part of why he committed to the Noles. We'll talk about that. We'll also go over the baseline of Florida State's situation at linebacker. It's improving quite a bit, and they're going to need it because they have a lot of guys that are upperclassmen in the depth chart for the Noles. And then finally, we're going to kind of look long-term based on what this means for Florida State's recruiting class and the future of the defense. So again, Rivals has him in number 27, 24/7 at the 170th spot, and ESPN number 39. So why did he pick Florida State? This is from speaking with somebody that is, quote unquote, very familiar with the situation. They recruited him well. The NIL package was good. That's very important on another note. I'll get into that in a second. And then overall, his family likes Florida State. So it's a combination of events. It's not just because they dropped a bag for him. It's not just because they recruit him well. It's a combo. They were on him for a long, long time. And every time I'd spoken to somebody about him, Florida State was always in the mix. He'd committed to Florida State once before, and now he's back in the fold. Consistency matters in recruiting, and that's why you have to build relationships, something I talk about constantly here on Locked On Seminoles. Went back and watched his film. I'm going to talk about that next, and then I'll give you some insights from seeing him live as a pass rusher specifically. These are two separate entities here because his film, for the most part, he plays inside linebacker. Primarily, although on offense, he ran the ball some. He had like 4 touchdowns last year too. He probably could be a pretty good running back because he is an athlete. First thing that I noticed, and it surprised me a little bit, is how good Izayia Williams drops into coverage. And for those of you that are curious, his film, I mean, just look it up on Huddle. As a matter of fact, I'll link it down below in all the descriptions. But if you look him up on Huddle, the way he moves diagonally and backwards and changes direction for a kid his size is not normal. That's why he's ranked so high. His upside is through the roof. It's up to him to harness that talent and to fit it to the scheme for the Florida State Seminoles. That's just part of it, because right now he is a raw piece of clay that needs to be molded into whatever position or positions it may end up being. I think that he's best being a pass rusher at the college level. I don't know if he could do that at the pro level. That's the debatable thing. He's not the tallest guy in the world, but his speed, his change of direction, and his aggressiveness, all those things lend you to think he has at least a shot. So pass rusher and coverage are good. Against the run, he's a hitter, but it's different at the high school level. Reading the plays, reading your keys, that's about as close as you're going to get to trying to play quarterback on defense. I mean, quarterback on offense is a whole nother animal, but he's got to learn that if he's going to stay at inside linebacker, especially in Tony White's defense, because it is multiple, it is complex. I'm curious to see what they ask him to do, if that's where he ends up playing. But whether it's linebacker or whether it's outside as a pass rusher, possibly both, they're going to get the following attributes because it is clear as day. foot in the ground, he is gone. Like, he has explosiveness that you would equate to somebody that weighs 160, 170 pounds. He's 215. That's a big deal. Secondarily, this is a guy that has the ability to chase, and he is a very hard-charging player. Like, he doesn't give up on plays, and he can change directions without losing a ton of speed. Again, guys that are the size of Izayia Williams rarely, and I do mean rarely, can do this. It's like his huddle film shows it, but see, and I'll get into this in a second, it is different seeing him live from 10 feet away. It is completely different. The ability to change direction, especially against big guys, because I saw him in pass rushing situations at a 5-on-5, it's comical how quick he is laterally and how good his hands are. So Florida State is getting a pure athlete. This is the kind of guy that you would have seen at Florida State under Jimbo or Bobby. Guys that can play on the edge, maybe drop into coverage, but they just had a plethora of guys with size and athleticism that created havoc. Izayia fits that. And then finally, something I already mentioned a little bit, but he is really relentless. I'd forgotten that, and that's why you go back and watch the film. There were plays where he'd be lined up on left or right, and for whatever reason, the ball goes to the other side of the field, and he tracks it. And there are a few plays he lowered the boom too. Go watch the huddle film. I'm telling you, it is worth your time. When we come back, I'm going to break down my thoughts about him, seeing him live. And again, it's different. Going to talk about Florida State's linebacker group and overall recruiting. That is next here on Locked On Seminoles. Today's show is brought to you by Wayfair. As summer winds down, there's something nice about getting back into a routine you love, and Wayfair makes it easy to set yourself up for the season ahead. From bedding and linens to storage solutions for every room, Wayfair is your one-stop shop to refresh your home. If you need something that is very basic, pillows, whether it's a small chair, whether it's a desk like I bought from Wayfair and got it in a few days with free shipping, they've got a variety of things. And it's really easy to use their website. I'll be honest, it was a little surprising how convenient it was. And I am not the most patient guy. Get organized, refreshed, and back into routine for less. Head over to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair. Every style, every home. Thank you once again for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Truly appreciate you stopping in to get all things Noles. College football is almost here. We got Farmageddon coming up. We're going to do some predictions, going to have some fun. Going to talk about not just Florida State, the ACC, college football across the board over the next week or so. I'll probably do a Florida State live show Sunday night. Probably going to do quite a few of those, actually, discussing not just the Noles, but college football. So make sure you join in. I'll put up a link probably on Saturday. So Sunday night, I'm guessing around 8 o'clock Eastern time. We'll do that. Now, let's talk about the film for Izayia and then contrast it with what I've seen live. 5-on-5, what is it? It is 5 big guys that are offensive linemen lined up against 5 big guys that are defensive players / edge guys. Obviously, tackles go against ends and interior players go against defensive tackles and nose guards. His first step, as I noted, seeing him on film is the same thing that translates to seeing Izayia Williams live. Explosive. Now, he's just learning how to be a pass rusher. It is a long time to get it down because you need 5-6 moves that you're excellent at to be truly a good pass rusher. Outside of maybe Jake Krell, there aren't many guys like that I've seen in the last 10 years. He's very rare. He just recently committed to Oklahoma. But Izayya's got a few pure speed rush, dip and rip, just go around. He will set you up and come back inside, and he'll use a rip move, some basic stuff like that. I need to see him add 2 or 3 more moves over the next couple of years, just like anybody else. The advantage that Williams has is the ability to make a move. For whatever reason, the offensive lineman wins, but with his speed and his upper body strength, despite he's not being a massive guy, he can regenerate more power off a secondary move and still get to the quarterback. Usually when you get thwarted that first time, it's probably lights out. Boom, hit, and then he can switch gears again, throw hands, maybe a 2-hand swipe. He has the ability to do that and still get home to hit the quarterback. Very rare to see that. I can't say this enough. First step explosion. It is rare at a player his size. And when you have that, the ability will translate into millions of different opportunities for you. You just can't count all of them because you can get to the fumble, you can get to the quarterback, you can get to the flat to cover somebody. And of course, just pass rushing and causing havoc in the backfield to get tackles for loss and sacks is top of the board. Now, what else do I need to see from him in the next year or so? Once he gets to Florida State, just need to see him add some weight. Play at 230, maybe 235, and maintain the speed. That is the objective. Will he do that? I don't know. Again, you can only go on what you've seen so far. It's up to the kid once they arrive at any school to eat right, to sleep right, to go to class, do all the things that a lot of people take for granted. And I'm telling you, like these evaluations that we do for all these rankings, Izayia included, you can only judge so far. Then it's up to them, and it's just a crapshoot. He has the talent, and there's really no excuse for him not to eventually don an NFL uniform. But that will be up to him because Florida State's defense, especially under Coach White, they can use him in a bevy of different ways with their packages, nickel, dime, 4-3, outside linebacker as a 3-4, a lot of different situations. The only thing that I really don't think he fits is an inside linebacker in a 3-man front. I don't think that's going to fit him. He tries to go around a lot of stuff. His mentality is using speed. You got to take on guards a little too much in a 3-man front, traditionally speaking. So I'd be curious to see how they would do it. But if he plays outside linebacker part of the time and they use more 4-man fronts, he can play inside. They can mix it up. Either way, he's a really, really good football player for the Noles going forward. All right, overall, Florida State's now got 22 commitments in the class of 2026. You got Noah Lavallee. He's a kid out of Walton High School. Of course, his brother is at Florida State already. Walton High School is just outside Atlanta in the Marietta area. And they also have Karan Maycock from Central High School in Miami, Florida, committed. So you got 3 guys that have upside. I would imagine Maycock's going to be eventually your middle backer if he grows into it. Lavallee, maybe he's going to be your weak side backer. Again, that stuff takes care of itself in the long term. But this is a nice group. Florida State needed to get back on track in their depth chart, just looking at it before the show. And I was just like, this is a pretty decent group. There's no superstar, and that makes me a little nervous in some ways, but it's still pretty good. You've got Herring, he'll be gone after this year, and Thompson, he'll be gone after this year. Then you've got Omar Graham that could leave, but he's a redshirt junior, so he technically has another year. You got Cryer, who's got another year. You got Nicholson, who's got another year. But then you've got Caleb Lavallee, that's obviously the brother. And then you got Pritchard. Like, there's not a ton of guys that have more than 1 year of eligibility beyond this season. So 1 or 2 of these guys could play in 2026. And that also means I expect them to take 1 or 2 players from the transfer portal, but that'll take care of itself. The other part to this, and it goes back to Williams, Florida State does not have a quote unquote pure defensive end, that weak side pass rusher, Peter Boulware kind of player on the roster on this recruiting class roster. Maybe Williams will be the hybrid, but they still need to add one, to be really honest, like a pure get outside in a 7 technique, pinch down and create havoc on the quarterback. Williams can be that guy too, but it would be better if you hedged your bets and added one more. Thank you once again for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Again, we're going to do a live show on Sunday. We'll talk all things Noles, probably 8 o'clock Eastern time. I'll set it up here in the next day or so once I get everything figured out. Talk Florida State's fall camp, starters, and then a little college football and ACC across the board. Just have some fun. Do a live show here on Locked On Seminoles. Everybody have a good one. We will see you again soon.